Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is Ellen Mongan, and welcome to the show. This is an interview today with Dr. Ray, and Jan's going to introduce him in a minute. But first, we're going to say that I'm a contributor for Catholic Mom, and today our guest is Dr. Ray. It's going to be on the podcast over in CatholicMom.com. So Jane Ann, my co-host, how are you doing today? And would you like to introduce Dr. Ray?
Oh, yes, I sure would. Good morning, everyone. And really, Dr. Ray is a clinical psychologist, author, professional speaker, and national radio and TV host. His radio show, The Doctor Is In, can be heard on over 440 stations and Sirius XM Channel 130. His TV show, Living Right with Dr. Ray, can be seen on EWTN Global Catholic Network and is aired in 140 countries. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about his new book, Raising Upright Kids in an Upside-Down World. And this book offers parents a roadmap through the difficult and sometimes frightening terrain. And Dr. Ray brings to bear his decades of clinical experiences and his experience as a father of 10 on some of the hardest questions of modern parenting. His book is for parents who aim to form children who value the things of God, no matter the work and the effort. Dr. Ray is here to tell you it's worth it. And I just have to say one thing. I have listened to his channel on EWTN, Living Right, and I love it. He's so funny, and he does present great truths with a lot of humor. And he also has 10 children that he has adopted that and so I want to say, Dr. Ray, that I have taken a lot of your advice from listening to that channel. So anyway, welcome.
Well, Jane Ann, you sound a lot smarter. You didn't used to sound that smart.
She's very smart. 11 children.
My wife has 11. I have 10.
I love it. I'm going to use that line.
Hats off to all y'all. So, Dr. Ray, we're so excited. I was thinking this morning about the Noah and the ark. You know how God put them all in the ark, and they were all sort of stuck together by choice, and how we are all like Noah in the ark right now. How is your crew surviving the ark time of isolation or staycation?
Well, ladies, this is as old as I've ever been. So my children are pretty much grown except one daughter who is 20, who is still living at home. And when she leaves, my wife and I are going to get into a protection program where they'll alter our identities, relocate us in Montana. We're going to go off the grid. So right now, there's just the three of us, myself, Randy, and Elizabeth.
Well, that's not bad. Pat and I are doing two of us, too. Jan, how many do you have?
Okay, well, we have 10. It was 10 of all of us here at the house, so I have to have a permit for all of us to be in the same house at the same time because you're not supposed to be around 10 or more people.
So what do you get for advice, Dr. Ray? Because it's like too much of a good thing sometimes, you know, even with just 2 or 3.
This kind of prolonged togetherness will shine a light on a parent's discipline skills. You can get away with sloppy discipline or too much talk discipline or negotiating discipline or arguing discipline. You can get away with that in smaller doses. But when you're together day and night, you can't get away with it. And what will happen is when parents say, the kids are driving me crazy, most of the time, the bulk of that craziness is caused by discipline problems. In other words, the parent can't say, okay, you mistreated your sister, go have a seat, I'll tell you when you can get up. It's like that. Most parents can't do that. There'll be an argument, the child will get up, the kid will immediately start to resist, the parent will argue back, and it becomes very frustrating. So it shines a light on our discipline skills as parents, because most of the people who are listening to you are very, very good people. They're loving, caring parents. And if they struggle, it's not because they lack love, it's because they struggle with discipline.
Oh, that's good. So what do you suggest? We have a lot of time to learn, Dr. Ray. We have a lot of time.
That's what you got to do.
That's right. So tell us about your new book.
come to your office change? Over the years, do you see different types of problems coming in? The last 10 to 15 to 20 years, 15 years ago I was in college, but nevertheless, the last 10, 15 years, the number one referral into my office has been parents of later teens or adult children who have watched their children leave the faith, alter the morals they were brought up with, be hostile toward mom and dad and mom and dad's beliefs. That has been the number one referral. And the parent will say, in various levels of distress, we didn't raise this child this way. What happened? I will say to them, I believe you. I don't believe you did raise the child this way, but you underestimated what did, which is the mal-shaping forces of the culture, the media, the music, the celebrity, the entertainment, the social media, all of it doesn't think like a moral traditional parent. It doesn't at all. So what tends to happen is, unbeknownst to a lot of really good parents, it's seeping fog, and it gets into the house in various ways, and it reshapes the way the kids think. Now, fortunately, some of them in their mid-later 20s come back to what mom and dad taught them, but a lot of them don't. They just realize that whatever mom and dad taught them was mom and dad, and the culture is new and enlightened and a better way to do it. And so I see an awful lot of that, and that's why I wrote the book, to make parents aware of what's going on, and the big one, to give them the strength to stand against it.
That's good.
We think it's great that you are speaking out. So many people are just they're watching the TV along with them, and they're doing the games, and they're drinking the Kool-Aid. So thank you for what you do. What are some of your other books that you could mention along the way about that we can maybe get besides this one book? We want to hear all about what you do.
My most popular book is a book called Discipline That Lasts a Lifetime. It is 100 of the most common discipline questions I get from parents. What happens if my spouse doesn't agree with me? How do I deal with that kind of back talk? What is back talk? What's expressing feelings? How do I get him to take a time out when he refuses? What about bedtime bad times? What about meal ordeals? What about homework hassles? What about chore shirking? What about allowances? All of these things, and I come from the angle, ladies, of, you are the parent. I am not going to give you the perfect formula to follow. I'm going to give you ideas and options, and you decide in your home with your moral system how you want to implement this. Because the bottom line is, most experts do not think like moral religious parents. They don't. Most experts are secular. As a result, what they value in a child is very different than what your audience values in their children.
So good.
So, on your children, can you give us some examples of what you did with your children that was alternative in so many ways? Like on the smartphone, with the TV, and...
First of all, with the smartphone. Parents will say to me, what do you think is the one thing I can do that will affect my parenting more than any other, in a negative way? I will say, it's no question. Give them a smartphone. No question. And the earlier, the worse. The average age for a smartphone now, which is basically a computer in the hand, which is in touch with the world and everything it has to offer, good, bad, evil, is 8 to 10 years of age. So if your daughter is 13 and she doesn't have a smartphone, you are in about 5%. So if you yield through the pressure of your daughter, through feeling she's going to resent you, through feeling you're an archaic throwback Neanderthal parent, any of that, if you yield, I will tell you, ladies, over and over and over again, I've seen parents and children burned by smartphones. No question. And if they don't get burned, which is a minority of the cases, what it does is it pulls the child away from the kind of parent-to-parent human interaction that you'd like to have with a kid. Everybody's singing happy birthday at Grandpa's party, and little Nielsen is over in the corner texting or scrolling through social media while everybody's singing to Grandpa.
Yeah.
It's something that we parents, we allow it because the cultural tsunami is so strong. It's gone in such a direction that to stand against it and not fear that your kids are going to resent you is very hard for most parents. Because the experts are saying things like, well, they're going to rebel. They're going to hate you. They don't know how to socialize with other kids. They're going to be weirdos. Every generation has always said these kids nowadays. And so all of these mantras that are thrown at parents shake them up. And they wobble. They get unsure of themselves. In our home, one of the things that we didn't have to deal with, because my oldest is 32 and my youngest is 20. So we really, early on, nobody got a phone until, I think it was 16 was the earliest. My daughter, the 20-year-old, didn't get one until because she just didn't handle it. Every time we tried to give it to her, she messed it up. So we just finally said, there's no way. That's not happening. As a result, now we homeschooled, so we didn't get quite the pressure from the peer group and peer group's parents, by the way, and grandparents who are telling us that we are so far out of touch with the mainstream of enlightened parenting. We didn't have that kind of pressure, not to the degree. But I've always said this, ladies, and this is my advice to parents listening. If your kid goes astray, morally, religiously, you want to be able to, it's because they had to go over top of me, not because I stepped aside.
Yes.
That's good.
Well, they say the prodigal son's dad, that the hardest part was for him to wait, for him to wait to come back. Not to chase him, he waited, and then when he came back, guess what? He threw a party. Gave him the cloak and the ring. I think it's great that you don't step aside, but that you wait for them to come around, and then they turn around, don't you think? Dr. Ray, most of yours probably have turned around. It sounds like you were excellent.
Well, the parole officer says some of the nicest kids he has. So when you hear that, you feel good as a parent. You don't want to brag, you don't want to put it on social media, but you feel happy. And the judge says one of the most mannerly kids in his courtroom. So, hey, we're getting there. One of the things that's happening, that you bring it up, one of the things that is happening with my own children is as they move through their 20s.
Okay.
Yes, some of them were always close to us, so that was not an issue. But about half, as they moved through their 20s, had to become closer to mom and dad in their own trajectories. That doesn't mean that they came back to the Catholic Church. It means that they were starting to see how they were raised. So hopefully, as they move on through life and they realize that the world's ways don't work real well, they will look back at what mom and dad did. Now, given all that, the one caveat I would present to your listening parents is this. Don't preach at them. Don't nag them. Don't chase them. Don't try to make them feel guilty. And for God's sakes, don't shun them.
Mm-hmm.
If your son is living with his girlfriend, you better treat that girl nice.
Mm-hmm.
You better, or you're going to lose your son. You're not condoning what they're doing by being loving to that girl. There for a while, my one son was dating a stripper. She was at her house on Christmas Eve. And you wouldn't know that there was anything other than a warm relationship there between her and us. Now, do we approve? Of course not. But we couldn't treat her and shun her. We weren't going to do that. That wasn't going to happen. Now, they've long since broken up, which I saw coming. But nevertheless, in the meantime, had we said, well, we don't approve and we can't condone it, and we're not going Our Lord ate with sinners, the deepest form of fellowship.
And you're planting a seed, Dr. Ray. You never know. You know, the rest of our life she may think, wow, that family, they had something different. You know, so I appreciate your humor, but also your honesty. I do. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but gee, there's so much to talk about on this list. Jan, do you have a question for Dr. Ray?
Well, I just really like what he said, and the scripture that came to my mind when he was talking about his son was that love covers a multitude of sin. And so I am in agreement because we have older children, older adult children, and I have three teens at the house right now, and then some in between. So we also have gone through some of that, and he is so right. You have to love your children right where they are, and you have to extend that love.
I cannot tell you how many parents have children because as the children drifted away or as they rejected, the parents then said, well, I can't have anything to do with you, or I'll have something to do with you, but you'll be able to tell that I am very, very subtly hostile. Mm-hmm. And that dramatically pushes away, for example, an in-law. The number one dynamic I see with that kind of family friction is mother-in-laws, daughter-in-laws. 10 to 1. 10 to 1. And typically the daughter-in-law doesn't like the way the mother-in-law comes across, or the mother-in-law says things, or doesn't like the way the daughter-in-law is doing it, and the daughter-in-law hasn't baptized the baby yet, and the mother's not. It's sad, because what happens in so many of those cases is there's a fracture. And then mother-in-law or dad, they don't get to see the kids, and then they don't get to see the grandkids. That's a tragedy.
That's a tragedy. I think for mothers and mother-in-laws out there, our job is to pray more than we say for older children. I have children from 45 down to 28, so we pray more than we say. It makes it better. My good news, though, Dr. Ray, is my daughter-in-law, the only daughter-in-law is from Japan. She doesn't speak English. So far, I haven't offended her. I'm trying really hard to be, good, but I don't know Japanese and she doesn't know English. So what do you think to say to those children that come in your home that speak a different language, not Japanese? I mean, their language is the world, the flesh, and the devil. Then when they come in as younger children, not dating your children, but they're in your home and they're young and they're playing. And what did you all do in those days? I kind of guarded that as well, in that everyone was welcome, but the rules were the rules of our home.
First, I'll give you a piece of advice regarding the older children, the ones who are adults, either married or living with somebody. If they have children of their own, there is advice given to mothers and mother-in-laws on their daughter and daughter-in-law's wedding day. I think it's advice that serves well for parents who are tempted to step in and tell the adult children how to raise children. Sit up, shut up, and wear beige. Okay. So,
write that down, Jane. Wear beige, remind me.
I have 6 grandkids, and my wife and I have a rule. We absolutely say nothing about the way they are raising their children. Now, if they're in our house and they're doing something that we don't allow, we'll stop it. Okay. But in terms of when mom and dad are around, and the kids are being bratty, or they're throwing fits, or they're nagging, or they're being ugly, my wife and I do not say one word. And, for the most part, the kids have never asked us. My son Andrew, who is the oldest, has a little girl. He called me when she was about 1.5 years, and he said, "Hey, Dad, can I ask you a question about Rosie?" And I said, Andrew, wait. Are you asking me my opinion? He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Andrew, I'm going to cry." I said, here's an affidavit that I had my lawyer fill out. It says that you have asked my opinion on parenting. Would you sign this, please? But I find that, Andrew is a very humble child. So he had no problem asking Dad. Dad's written 15 books. He's been a shrink for 40 years. He came to his father. He said, "Hey, Dad, can I ask you a question?" You know, most of the time they ask their mother. They don't ask me.
That's funny. Well, I hope you framed it, Dr. Ray. I hope you framed that. Yeah, my husband is asked a lot of religious questions. He's a deacon, and then they ask me to pray. So, Jan, do your kids ask your advice?
That's funny you saying that because I just have one grandchild, and they live in the town we live in. Yeah, sometimes, but I'm with Dr. Ray. I just don't say anything. That is great advice, and it's so refreshing to hear you say that because I guess in the Christian world, not everybody would say that, and I love that because that's the way my husband and I have felt. That's the way we have been. That's the way we've been walking because we only have one that's married. So I'm like, one down, 10 more to go. So anyway, I'm in this for the long haul.
I think one of the reasons why moms in particular feel the pressure to give their opinion when it's not asked for is because oftentimes they feel bad that the kid is not exactly living as they were taught to live. Mm-hmm. So the parent feels the pressure to correct it. I got to straighten it out. I've got to get him back on the right path. So I say things like, "Well, did you go to church Sunday? Well, you could have gone to mass at 11 o'clock. Why didn't you go? Or, well, when are you going to have the baby baptized? And you've already talked about this 9 times, and you've shut it down 9 times in a row, but you're going to try it a 10th time. Why? Because you feel this pressure to make it right. I've got to make it right. Obviously, because I did something when I was raising him where I fell short and I was deficient. And now look, they're not practicing the way they were raised. It's my fault. I better fix it." And there's that pressure. And that just makes it worse. In most cases, it makes it worse. You've got to know when to back off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, I like that too. I like that. I always say, they're going to say that women have a lot of opinions to give. That's what they're going to say. But truly, it takes a strong woman to lay down her opinion. Men seem to have a more guard on their tongue because they just do. I think that, I'm not categorizing women and men because heaven knows that's going to be a blooper. So thank you, Dr. Ray. What do you think about stuff? Jane Ann has so many kids that she always talks about this stuff, like the closets and then the number of shoes per children in the closet. What about stuff? You had lots about on one of your shows I watched was about limiting the stuff so that they don't need all that stuff.
2 things, 2 levels of this. One, if you're going to have a whole bunch of kids, see, our culture now says that you are allowed to have sexual relations in any way you want with anyone you want. The only kind of sexual relations that will give you ugly vehemence against is a married mother who has more than 1.86 children. Now, if you have 3, we're going to give you grief. Okay, so that's how bizarre it's gotten. One of the things that I found out is, and God's a practical joker, I'm a neatnik. And I don't like stuff. We had 10 kids under 12.
Wow.
As a result, it smelled like a swamp in here. It did. And the EPA cited us for 9 or 10 violations, all kinds of stuff. So we were against city code. I don't know. Anyway, I had to keep a lid on the possessions. Example, one rule we had. You're allowed 1 stuffed animal. If you get a second one, which comes pouring in from every direction, choose, and we'll get the other one to the hospital, children's hospital. That worked for about the first 7 or 8 kids, and by the time I got to 9, I ran out of gas, and then the 9th and 10th ones had 5 or 6 stuffed animals. But we kept a tremendous lid on it, and my son said to me the other day, he's 23 now. He said, Dad, when I was growing up, and I looked around us, and I saw how much more stuff the other kids had than we had, I thought you just couldn't afford it because you had so many kids. He goes, you could afford it, couldn't you? I go, yeah, I could. You just didn't do it, did you? I go, no. He goes, I'm glad, Dad, because I see my friends, and they're all into material stuff. He goes, and it doesn't mean quite as much to me. I go, thanks, Petey. It took you long enough to realize it, pal. But that's one thing. So we really kept the lid. Now, the second thing is, moms of, say, more than 3, 4, 5, which is probably the predominance of the moms who listen to you two ladies, they feel like their lives can be really, really disordered. I mean, chaos. And they go to confession, and they say, I was a much holier person before children. I was so good. I was so calm and peaceful. I was a loving, Christian, charitable woman, and now I'm the wicked witch, the West. I'm a she-witch. I feel like saying, and your little dog, too. So I tell them one of the ways to lower the disorder is to get rid of the crap that's all over your house. Get rid of half of it. Get rid of 3/4 of it. It will create, truly, a psychological response. You'll be more settled. You won't feel like you live in constant disarray. Plus, the other thing is, you will at least help your children to not go with the American flow of consume, have, get.
So profound. I mean, I'm an OCD myself. I like everything in order. Order brings peace to me. My kids were given one memory box. They could put anything they wanted to save. One memory box. Here it is. If it couldn't fit, they couldn't keep it. It's very important, mothers. I think this is wise advice, Dr. Ray. And we want to give you the whole show. So is there anything else you want to bring up, Dr. Ray?
Well, a couple of things. The focus of the most recent book, there was a subtitle to it called Defying the Anti-Parent Culture. And I asked our publisher to put that in because I thought it was very important. If you just go by the title, Raising an Upright Kid in an Upside-Down World, it makes it sound like, okay, this is another book about virtue. This is another book about raising a great kid. And there's millions of those out there. This one's very different in the sense that it says, here are the forces going against your parenting. Here are the forces undercutting your moral system. Be aware of them. Know that they're out there. Respect their power, because they have awesome power. And then, not only, you can't eliminate them. There's no way. We live in a world. You're not going to eliminate them. What you're going to do is you're going to buy more childhood. You're going to allow your children to grow up with a few more years of innocence, a few more years of protectiveness, so that the stuff you're trying to teach has a chance to take some root. You know, it's like our Lord's parable, you know, fall on the good soil. So that's what the book says. It also says you need to have the confidence as a parent to know that what you're doing is right. And if the rest of the world is going off in another direction, you have to believe that what you're doing is best for your kids. Archbishop Sheen said, wrong is wrong, even if everybody is wrong. Right is right, even if no one is right. And I think that's the way you got to look at it as a parent.
Yes, I think so. Man, that's exciting. Ladies, I hope you're listening, from Catholic mom to this wise Dr. Ray. I don't say his last name because I can't pronounce it. But Jane, do you want to put in our final word? We're almost to close, unless there's something really urgent you want to ask.
No, I just want to say that if they, a lot of moms, like he started off the beginning of the show with, they're being quarantined and the discipline issues, because that's pretty much the root. And so I noticed that he just put out a podcast a couple of days ago, so people should go to that. And the first 2 days ago, he did one on coronavirus, homeschool, and discipline. I started listening to that. It's really good. And then the Corona Cranky, I thought that was hilarious, because a lot of mothers, and go and listen to those, you can just Google them and find them, because a lot of mothers are right now, I mean, we homeschool, so kind of what we're doing is what we've been doing, you know, like our whole life. But a lot of mothers find themselves, he's right, if you don't have like first time obedience, this is the time now. I think it's God's grace and mercy and his kindness to show you, you know, because he said in the podcast, it's in the beginning of this interview, that shedding the light on discipline skills. And so that is so true. So if you get a chance, go listen to those podcasts.
So
I would say too, ladies, if anybody's interested in the newest book or any of the books on marriage and faith and emotions and parenting, they just go to drray.com, drray.com, and they're all there.
Thank you. You've done so much, and we're so blessed. We want to tell where will they hear you speak again? I know from your home, probably right now, but is there more coming or more books in the mix?
Ladies, I just had 9 speaking engagements canceled. So
no, we're praying.
The next one's still on the books is sometime this summer. So we keep it on the website, on the speaking schedule. So hopefully by then, the speaking will ramp back up.
Well, I was going to close this show and thank you, first of all, Dr. Ray, for coming on and being so willing to speak to these women, even though we had a few false starts here today. So I feel like you're like the prophet Joshua. Be bold, be strong, for the Lord thy God is with you. When you have to stand against the culture, and sometimes there's giants in the land, and you find that the giants are your own children. They're trying to come against what you know is right. I like Bishop Sheen's quote, ladies. Right isn't wrong and wrong isn't right is what I always say, but it's similar to that. Know what's right, and then do it. And if no one goes with you, there's giants in the land, and only Joshua and Caleb were able to decide we're going to take the land. So take the land for the Lord, and thank you for raising upright kids in an upside down world, and thank you for all your wisdom you gave us today. Please know that we do appreciate it, and this will be on Catholic Mom. And ladies, listen to it and pass it on to your friends. Go and buy those books. He's going to share one more time where to get the books and how to contact him. Dr. Ray?
It is at drray.com, drray.com. And also I have a Facebook page. I try to update that with different pieces of short advice and ideas, however we can do that to strengthen up and shore up our parents these days.
That's right. Jane Ann, thank you for joining us. Dr. Ray, thank you. And this is Ellen Mongan and Jane Ann Bonbrake from Catholic Mom, trying to do an interview with Dr. Ray, and so appreciated it. Listen to your elders, and not that we're old and gray, but we are here for you. Thank you, Dr. Ray, one more time. And I'm closing off the show.